Hi, everybody. It's Debbie from Spooky Things. So glad to see everybody here. Um, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. Sorry that I've been kind of um, gone, but had some stuff that needed to get done. So, anyway, I hope everybody is doing well. Everything's going good over here. Um, Tonight we have a interesting subject. It's something that I haven't touched on for a while. And this is more zoological, having to do, well, as you know, I do cryptozoology as well. This has really more to do with um, what we call a Lazarus taxon. And a Lazarus taxon is something that has been extinct, documented extinct, and has made a resurgence, have just showed up again out of the blue for whatever reason. Um, Obviously, these things have just gone into like a state of hiding and seclusion, or there's just so little of them, people just aren't seeing them. Some of them are smaller, some of them are bigger, in any cryptids. These are not cryptids. These are actual animals, described animals, and but it does give you an idea of how animals can sometimes come on as being a cryptid, and the misunderstanding between what's folklore, what's a cryptid, and it's a fine line. It actually is. Not everybody knows dogs and cats and stuff like that, but there's a lot of exotic animals out there that people talk about. People don't even know what they are. It's like, I've never seen that before. They're not cryptids. They're actual animals, and a lot of people mistake an animal that exists today as a cryptid, but it's just simply because it's been misidentified. Um, and this is a big thing that can go on. I know Bigfoot has a lot of times been mistaken for a bear, or should I say, a bear has been mistaken for a Bigfoot, because bears are very capable of standing up on their 2 feet. They do reach a height of 10 foot. Especially you've got your grizzlies and your Kodiaks and your polar bears. They're all really big. Those are big animals. When they stand up on those back 2 legs, they can easily reach 10 foot. So I think that a lot of things can be misunderstood or misidentified into that area. Some animals that they're saying that, oh, it was a dinosaur, and babies, if it's been dead for 1,000 years, there's a really good chance it's probably still dead now. It's chances of that happening are pretty remote. Um, Now, I'm not saying it can't happen, because in actuality, Bigfoot, if it is a Lazarus taxon, if Bigfoot would be a Lazarus taxon, it could be, this is just could be, something like Gigantopithecus, which has died out many, 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 many years ago. And but of course, with it being in a remote environment like what it would live in, could it be possible? Yeah, sure it could. If it was cave dwelling, or if it was, um, you know, hiding in such a secluded area where people don't go. And this is where this animal would preferably live at, where people don't go. Could it be possible for them to still be alive and be existing on the earth today? Sure. Sure it could. They're very big, so it's kind of hard to hide something like that unless you're in a really secluded area. Anything is possible. So yes, yes, it is possible. Um, the animals that I'm going to be talking tonight about is something very interesting. I'm not sure if a lot of you guys have heard about it, but scientists are actually trying to bring back certain animals. This is no story here. This is the truth. There's a company out there called Colossal, and they are actually planning on resurrecting animals that have been extinct for many, many years, and they want to bring them back. Do I think it's a great idea? No, I don't think it's a great idea at all. I think there's a reason why they have gone extinct, and I think to bring it back would be a first of all, I don't believe that you're going to be completely able to bring something completely black and back in its original form. It the If the DNA is not going to perfectly match, it's not going to be in its perfect form. There are going to be differences between it and what it originally was. Um, so really, to say that you're bringing that animal, completely back is false. It's it's going to be a different animal genetically, um, because of course they can take genetic material and implant it. Well, we're going to get into that. Okay, so I'm going to put on my glasses here. Even I hate putting them on because it makes such a glare. It's like you're looking at somebody with like these big glary things. See what I mean? It just makes this big old glare. Anyway, there are ways that um, that this can happen. And of course, some of them we're familiar with, others we're not. Um, we all know about cloning, and cloning is using preserved genetic material of an animal that is either critically endangered or they're not going to be able to make a resurgence. There's just too many or too little of them. So they're going to clone them. Everybody remembers the sheep. Remember the sheep? Oh, yeah. Um, but it also leads to disastrous results. There's many situations where they've been cloned, and one we're going to get into, which was disastrous. And the deformities are great, and it's actually very cruel because the animal that is born is miserable. I mean, it is just so deformed, and 90% of the time they don't survive anyway. So to me, it's just like you put this animal through hell just for it to die. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Another one is called gene editing, and it's a process called CRISPR. Um, what this is a clustered, um, regularly interspaced palindromic repeats, and that's just it. So it's called clustered. And what they do is that they take this and they place it inside the closest relative that they can find today of that animal that they're trying to bring back. And again, if this animal is quote extinct, none of it exists on the earth today. So what they do is that they collect the DNA that they have and they implant that into the closest relative of it here now. and that's called gene editing. Now, again, is the animal going to come back exactly like it was? No, no, because you're using the gene of the animal you're using the DNA of the animal that you're trying to reproduce, but bearing it in mind, it doesn't have a complete DNA segment there. And they're going to be placing that DNA into an animal that's the closest related to him, and their DNA is going to be intermeshed. So you are not going to end up with the original animal because the original animal did not have the relative in it. That's what you're putting in there. So they might look alike. They might look like they used to, but there could be small changes, coloration, um, definitely genetically. It would be different. So that's the second way that they can do this. The third way is called selective breeding. And we're going to go into it with an animal here of where they're using selective breeding. And just basically what that is that, again, they're taking animals of today and they're using the animals' close relatives that look the most like the animals that they're trying to reproduce. And they breed those two together. And with that breeding, they use other breedings to get to where they want it to be. In other words, in this particular animal, with it being well, we'll get into it. So me trying to explain it isn't going to work. But anyway, that is another way that they are going to or are currently doing to bring some of these animals back. And of course, then again, there's the captive breeding zoos and using animals that are still here that are greatly endangered, critically endangered, and they have these captive breeding programs in like in zoos and stuff like that to try to bring these animals or try to bring them back. Now, it is amazing to me how they are trying to bring back some of these animals. It leaves my head spinning on why they are even doing this. But anyway, this is the information. This is all true. Feel free to look it up yourself, research into it. But they are currently working on this. All right. One of them is called the aurochs. Aurochs. It's a large it's like a large wild cattle, and it went extinct in 1627. It was a long time ago. It was overhunted and it experienced habitat loss. Science is using selective breeding with this particular animal to return the species back to their ancestral form. There are cattle right now. This is basically taking part now in Germany, and in 2013, it's called the Orend project, and anyway, it's in Germany, and they are trying to get it because through the years, man has done selective breeding the opposite direction because they wanted to have these animals be very prolific with, breeding on their own, and they wanted the most meat out of these animals that they could possibly do, the tenderest meat. It was basically just for meat production. So they selected the largest of these animals. Basically, what they're doing with basic cows and bulls today, and trying to get them bigger and better and all this kind of stuff. And now they're saying, no, no, no. We want the ancestral form of this particular animal, which is the form which died out in the 1600s. And they're trying to bring that particular cow back. Um, got me. But this is what's going on with this particular one. Um, I'm kind of lost as to why that they would do this. I mean, it's been extinct for so many years. Anyway, but that's what's coming back. Another thing that they're working on is called the Pinerian ibex. It's a subspecies of the Iberian ibex. Um, it lived in the Pyrenees Mountains of Southwest Europe, went extinct in 2000, the year 2000. And the last one left was named Celia. It was a female named Celia. But she was found underneath a tree that had fallen on top of her. She was in a protected area. And it was sad. She was the last one left, and a tree literally fell on her. What luck is that? Um, Here's where it comes into what I was talking about with the defects. This is sad. In 2003, cloning, um, it was by using frozen cells produced from a calf. Oh, I'm sorry. It was using frozen cells. It produced a calf that only lived for a few minutes to a lung deficiency or to a lung defect. Basically, what happened is that this little calf was born with a third lobe of lung, and it was taking up so much space inside of its little cavity, inside of its little chest cavity, that it didn't have room to breathe. And it was desperately trying to get air, and it couldn't because it couldn't inflate its lungs enough, and it pitifully passed away. As far as I know, there's not been any other cloning that has been done, but they're not going to stop there. They want to have this cow brought back into its ancestral form. Is that worth putting an animal like that through misery? I don't know. I don't think so. All right. Now, here's an animal that we are more familiar with. Many of you have heard of the Tasmanian tiger. Now, the Tasmanian tiger actually was a cryptid for many, many years because people were saying, "Oh, there's this animal out there, and it kind of looks like a dog. It kind of looks like a cat. We don't know what it looks like, but it's got tiger stripes on it." And everybody thought that they were full of hooey. Well, finally one day there was a person that was out there, and sure enough, they said, "No, I saw it. It really is there." And they go up to this environment where it was, and sure enough, there was a small troop of it that was that was there. And it's also called a thylacine. And it was last captured in 1930. And it was sent to a zoo. And science has done some editing to its closest relative, which is the numbat. Now this animal is actually, it looks kind of like a dog, and with tiger stripes on it. He's really cool looking. And they have pictures of him. They actually have a stuffed specimen, at least one specimen that is stuffed. And this is actually a really, really cool animal. And so they've been trying to get its closest relative to do that. The last wombat, or I'm sorry, the last Tasmanian tiger died in 1936. But the good thing about the Tasmanian tiger is that it does have some really greatly preserved specimens. And with that, they do have the DNA that they can use to bring this animal back. But again, they're using the numbat as the second half of this film edit of the gene editing. So it's not going to be the exact animal that was originally there because they've got the genes of the numbat in it. So you're not looking at that original animal anymore. So that's what is going on with the Tasmanian tiger. Okay, guys, this is the clincher. I cannot believe that they're bringing this back, but they are. Are you ready for it? They're bringing back the woolly mammoth. I'm not making this up. They are actually trying to bring back the woolly mammoth. And they want to release them, this animal back into its subarctic area that where it has lived before. And they want to see if it can repopulate the area of the plants and stuff that it used to eat. What? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me, but they are seriously working on this. They are saying by the year 2027, there will be woolly mammoths back on Earth. Of course, the mammoth is a prehistoric elephant with long curved tusks and woolly shaggy coat of fur. They lived in the cold subarctic regions of North America, Eurasia, and believe it or not, North Africa. North Africa can get kind of nippy. So, but it was a cold climate animal, and henceforth all the wool on it. But it went extinct. Are you ready for this? This thing went extinct 10,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago. And they think that they need to bring it back now? Go figure that. I mean, I just, it died out at the end of the Ice Age. Of course, it got warmer. What are we going through right now? Are we not going through climate warming? You really think now is the time to bring that thing back? I don't know. This does not make any sense to me, and actually it kind of ticks me off because it's like, what are you going to do to these poor animals? This does not make any sense to me. It found the scientists found DNA in very well preserved frozen carcasses in Siberia. So science is to insert woolly mammoth genes into the closest relative, which would be the Asian elephant. Now, I love elephants. I think they're the coolest animals. I really do. It's probably one of my favorite animals. And the Asian elephants are really cool. But I think this to me is playing God in the worst possible way. There's a reason why these animals went extinct. And the food is not plentiful as it used to be. Land was much more spacious, much less inhabited. These animals are huge. And for them to be put into an environment that, yeah, it might be I don't know, subarctic and all this kind of stuff. But the Arctic is melting. And just saying that, as a result of the Arctic melting, just the Arctic melting, polar bears are losing their habitat. They're going on the threatened, endangered list. They're saying that they won't be around for another 5 or 10 years. We could lose our polar bears. the emperor penguins. They're saying that within 5 years we could lose the emperor penguins for the same reason. This planet is losing a lot of their species. Climate change, pollution, loss of habitat, loss of their food. They were actually, I know that there was a consideration one point because the megalodon, um, that's my dog behind me. That's Tyrion. Um, but in any case, they were actually talking about bringing back megalodon. Let's think about that. Megalodon. Like, we don't have enough shark bites in the world now. No, let's bring back megalodon. Megalodon was considerably bigger than the great white, and they were on the same, they actually shared the same food source as the great white. Megalodon was actually just an extraordinarily large great white shark. And where do great white sharks normally live at? They live in the cold water. With climate change, you've got a huge animal out there. Now, the blue whales are actually, they're saying, oh, they're the size of blue. No, they're not. The blue whale is much larger than the megalodon, much larger, much heavier. They don't eat the same type of food as the megalodon did. Megalodons, of course, would eat anything. And blue whales are actually pretty specific. And a lot of what they eat are, krill and stuff like that, the really tiny things. But the megalodons eat those as well. And the bottom line comes down to the oceans do not have enough food to feed an enormous group of animals like megalodon, like it did back when they were alive. I mean, they were at the top of their food chain, and food was very abundant back then because there was, of course, no interference with man. And finally, my understanding of it is that they nixed the idea. So don't worry, they're not doing megalodon. So the answer is, are they going to bring back megalodon? No, they are not. They are not bringing back megalodon. And people are saying, oh, well, the Mariana Trench, they could live down there. Mariana Trench is actually very scarce with animals. It's very deep. And yeah, they could hide down there, but feed, not in the Mariana Trench. There's not enough of a food supply down there. And, it would just be a complete cluster. So, no. Anyway, megalodon's not coming back. It's just like a dragon. I don't think they're coming back. Okay, now here are some animals that they also are talking about bringing back. Passenger pigeon. They're talking about bringing those back. The last passenger pigeon was seen in 1913. The last one died in the year 2000. So, I'm sorry, the last one died in 1913. And it died in a zoo. So it wasn't even in the wild. It died in a zoo where they were trying to do the breeding program with them, and it didn't work. Here's one that they're talking about bringing back right here, and the dodo. You guys remember the dodo? It This is how long ago it went extinct. It went extinct in 1681, and it was by human caused extinction. And it was by bringing cats, rats, and monkeys over from where people were moving from and bringing it into the area that these dodos lived in. And what happened is that these cats and rats, monkeys that they were bringing over destroyed its nests and its chicks. So basically, it was animals that were non-native to the habitats that they lived in, and it destroyed them. Um, they in 2022, scientists assembled um, the first dodo from an exceptional from an exceptionally preserved specimen. They they put together this idea of putting together to get the dodo back. Why? Why would they do it? Obviously, the dodo did not do well the first time around. That didn't have a lot of people around, and just because of the other animals that were brought into it, it wasn't able to survive then. Why do you want to bring it back? This just doesn't make any sense to me. It just simply doesn't. I just think it's cruel. I, I don't know. I don't know. It's just me. Um, okay. This is called a quagga, and it went extinct in 1883. And they had several examples to um, inject into a zebra egg cell. Now, a quagga is like a zebra, but it's not colored as well. It was, but it not colored as brilliantly as a zebra is. The zebra is like white on black. You know, it's just all over. The stripes were all over. This one here has the stripes. It's more of a darker coloration. It's not that bright white. And but it doesn't have the stripes on the hind quarters. So the stripes just kind of disappear back there. So it's not as brilliant as the zebra itself is. Um, they've only got 7 skeletons of the quagga. There's just the 7. And it is considered the rarest skeletons in all the world because they've only got 7. So getting DNA from that is like very, very, very difficult. DNA is very delicate. And by going into in fossilized bones, you're long gone, long gone. And whatever they can extract from it, the very little that they could extract from it, it's just not enough to put together anything that could actually pull something like that off. You couldn't do it. So, because they don't have any, soft tissue or, you know, usable bone marrow, you just, it's just so delicate. You don't have anything to go by. And again, you'd have to use something that's of the closest relative to it, and kind of defeating your purpose because it is now no longer, it will never be exactly the way it was before. Genetically, it will always be different. So you're really not bringing back the original quagga. It's going to be genetically different. You can't help that. Um, okay. Now this is interesting. Some animals have come back all on their own. And these animals to me are just stunning. I think they're so cool. Really. Um, Cryptid wise, like we were just talking about, Bigfoot could very well be one. When Bigfoot is just this close to being described. That is that close to being described. Um, there's just so many things that point to Bigfoot actually being there. And if he is described, and this goes as well as Loch Ness, Nessie, Loch Ness, um, Champ, the Lake Champlain up in Vermont, New York, right? The Lake Champlain goes right in between Vermont and New York. That area up in there, that particular monster as well. Well, I say monster, that's what they call it. Would be a Lazarus taxon because these animals existed years and years and years and years ago, and they haven't found them in all this time. Only a select few people claim to have seen them. And even though it gets more popular as time goes on, it's hard to figure out who's really saying, oh, I saw it and really experienced it, or have misidentified it with another animal. Um, but those of them that have identified it correctly, and it would be an absolute miracle because these animals could make a resurgence back. You really, there's no way. So if an animal does come back like that, let's face it, there's no way that they completely died out. It's impossible. They cannot completely die out and then poop, all of a sudden one pops up again out of the blue. No, it had to come from somewhere. So the bottom line would have to be the interesting part, the miracle about it all would not be that they're back. The miracle to me would be that they survived in a protected environment in order for them to have made a comeback. And that to me is just absolutely mind blowing and it's just so cool. Um, so these animals are called Lazarus taxons. And that's an animal that has been declared extinct for sometimes thousands of years, and they're back. If it is truly that animal again. Now, here are some Lazarus taxons for you. These are all animals that have been declared extinct and have been recently identified again. Um, this is called the Fagildes. Fagildes? I'm not good with names. Trapdoor spider. Trapdoor spider is pretty cool anyway. But it had not been seen in 92 years. It has been extinct for 92 years. And they've recently found trapdoor spiders. These same exact trapdoor spiders that they claim have been extinct for 92 years. Yes, they're small. They can go unnoticed, but when they're keeping track of these animals, and believe me, they keep very good track of all the species that they can. There are people that make sure to keep them on their scope at all times. So they're counted regularly. They go out on expeditions and hunt for them until they can find them. They take notes of where they are, how many there are. They really do. They keep a pretty close check on these animals. So for 92 years, nobody saw these spiders. And then all of a sudden, boom, there they are. And not one or two. There was a number of them. So they've obviously just found a way to seclude themselves away, and was able to make, a comeback, which I think is great. Here's another one, the leopard spotted fish. And it had not been seen since 2011. Pollution and habitat destruction is the main cause of this animal. So humans really took a toll on this particular creature. The Tigris and the Euphrates River system in East Turkey, East Syria, Iran, and Iraq. That's where this fish is located at primarily. And 2011, that's a considerable amount of time. And now they've started seeing these fish again when they've considered them to be extinct since 2011. Here's one, the earless dragon. It was last seen in 1969, and it was seen again just last year in 2023. That's how long it's been in between the time anybody has seen this little guy, from 69 to last year, to 2023. The long beak echidna. It's considered a living a fossil. I mean, this thing has been around for, I don't know, beginning of time. This thing has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It was last seen, though, 62 years ago in Indonesia. And it's just recently been seen again. So that's amazing there. The climbing salamander. The last seen was 42 years ago. It was seen again in 2017 in Guatemala. And we're going into about the same thing, habitat destruction. And so basically these little animals had to learn how to relive it all over again somewhere else. An interesting one here would be the giant bee. It was last seen in 1981, but it was seen again recently in 2019 in Indonesia as well. Nature's amazing. It really is. Nature is amazing. We talk about the cryptids and how they are very elusive. They don't want to be seen. They do everything they can to avoid people seeing them. And the more you hear about it, the interesting for me is that the more that I hear about it, the more like a typical animal that they sound like. They don't want to have to, they don't play well with people. They don't want to be around people. They want to be left alone. And they do just fine on their own if people stayed away. And you're seeing it right here. But what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about them bringing back these animals? I mean, it's frightening. Talk about spooky things. Can you imagine looking out your window and seeing a woolly mammoth? They're cool, but that's just weird. That's just weird. And or seeing a passenger pigeon. It's like, didn't they die out a long time ago? Here they are. So, nature's unforgiving though when she's messed with. And I have a feeling though that if they did do what they're talking about doing, I just don't see it ending well. I really and truly don't. I think there's going to be major consequences when you play with nature like that. And the only thing I say is, to this company Colossal, please don't do this. Really and truly. I mean, I would love to see a woolly mammoth, but not at the not at the sake of the animal itself, because the animal would be the one to suffer for this. If it died out at the end of the ice age, we're at the end of a cooler age ourselves right now, and it's starting to get really hot out there. How do you think these animals are going to have to adapt to that? The Arctic and the Antarctic, they're melting. They're cool. They're warming up, and we're losing a lot of our animals out there as a result of it. And now they're trying to bring more animals back in that have died out years ago. Let them go, man. There's a reason why they're not here anymore. Let them go. Um, I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on this, because for me, I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. The researcher in me finds it fascinating. In the, I mean, it's really amazing to have an animal right in front of you that you can look at and, figure out a lot of your, answers to a lot of the questions that you have had. But at the sake of their safety and of their health, this is too much suffering for a living creature to have to be put through all that. So my answer is no, don't do this. This is not, just for our amusement and our curiosity to put an animal through misery. No, please don't do this. This is just really bad. So, um, yeah, I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Um, we also wanted to go ahead and let you guys know that the Paris Comic Con went pretty good back in September. Yeah, we had it in September. And there are more things coming up in the future. So we would like for you guys to, stay tuned to that, and, come on out and see us when you can get an opportunity to do that. We have other things coming up in different places. And I'm not at liberty to really discuss what's going on yet, because, it's still all in the working stages at this point. But what we're working on is some really, really cool stuff. And I think they're all going to be a lot of fun for you guys. And we're trying to keep you guys amused out there. So, we got a lot of things going on. And we would just like it for you guys to hang in there with us, so that, we can bring what we've got planned to you guys. And you guys can enjoy it right along with us. Um, we are getting on a new program as well now. So it's easier for me to talk to you guys out there. Um, Now I do, um, I don't know if I'm saying this right, you guys. Liliskerlos? Liliskerlos? Am I saying that right? There's no way I probably could. Um, Liliskerlos. Hot mom. Me? I don't know. Um, but anyway, hi, how are you? Um, but there is a chat on here that you can talk to me and I can talk to you back. If you have any questions, or if you want to discuss something, we can certainly do that. And I encourage that. Whatever we have going on here, I definitely want to encourage your participation into it. And, let's get like a conversation on it going on. Um, I'm trying to be as diverse as I can with different things that are going on in here. And, because I don't want to just stagnate it all with just one particular topic. And of course, we do have Blaine here. Blaine Rohan. He comes on the beginning of the month, every month. Now, this month there was something going on, so he couldn't join in with us this month, but he will be back next month. And of course, Devin, my son Devin, comes on here, and he's always got fascinating information about past people and what's going on with that. And man, that stuff is really, really, really interesting. And I love it when he comes on because I get to pick his head on these certain things. So that's a lot of fun. So, but anyway, that was just a little bit of information that I wanted to give to you guys about them. Actually, yes, it is true that we very well could have a woolly mammoth back on the face of the earth in a very short period of time here. And how do you feel about that? Um, my opinion is how cool, and oh hell no. And that's just my opinion. I think these animals are super, super, super cool, but no, 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 we don't want to do that. So I want to thank you for taking your time to be here tonight. And Spooky Things comes on every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time. And we are from there we get broadcasted out to a lot of different platforms. So, and we're expanding all those. So, but thank you very much for coming on. If there was something that you guys would like to discuss, let me know. I'll be happy to go into it with you. And thank you for your participation. I sure do appreciate it. So I want to say, everybody, take care. And it was great being here again tonight. And we'll be talking to you again next Tuesday at 7 o'clock Central Time, right here on the Web Broadcasting Network. Thank you guys. Have a good evening. Bye bye.